everyone, welcome back to the Talkaholics podcast. This is Iman.
This is Razia.
So what are we doing today, Razia?
I love these intros. My favorite. These intros are my favorite. Where we're like, "Hey, you have it." We're like hot potatoes. So today, just like if you tuned into our last episode, we played an IG game that was really fun called Siblings Are Dating. Highly recommend checking that one out before we dip into this, because this is a definitely more serious version of an IG game. Where in this one, it's really cool. We're on this account, as you can see, called We're Not Really Strangers, that I actually think is a card game now, based on the little bio there. But basically it's full of these really cool posts. Kind of reminds me of We the Urban. Iman, I'm sure you're familiar with that really cool Instagram account that kind of has like really empowering posts. But most of these are, hold prompts for deep discussion. So I thought that it'd be a really cool way to kind of form our discussion around. So we picked out 3 in advance, because not all of them have questions, that we're just going to go back and forth on, and then read some of the comments based on these questions, because they're kind of like really thought-provoking. So this first question here is, how well do you know yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being, I feel like a stranger to myself, or 10, I really, really know myself. So before we get into it, I'm curious to know. Oh, okay, cool. A lot of people were saying like strong numbers here. A 9.
Yeah.
6 on a good day. It's honest. I can always learn. A 3, a 5, 7 to 8, I guess.
It's pretty mixed numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty mixed, but I would say high for what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But Iman, I'll let you go first, and obviously we can think about it and go back and forth. But what would you put yourself?
I mean, I would my gut was to answer a 9 because I feel like I know myself pretty well. However, I feel like I've always known myself, and then a couple years in the future, when I'm looking back, I'm like,
yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
So I definitely think I'm better at like knowing myself and knowing who I am now than I was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I would be like around an 8 or 9, I think.
Yeah. My hesitancy to give us a high number is like knowing how much I thought I knew myself even in my early 20s. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that fucking confidence that I'm like, yes, this is figured out. I have it all together. And then you like just age a year and you're like, oh, okay, no.
You're like, wait, no.
This is not the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of scared to like say a high number, especially right now with like, I feel like Iman knows, and I've kind of shared it on the podcast too. I'm doing a lot more like self-help kind of reading, more than I have before, and like really digging into stuff about vulnerability, like Brene Brown-esque type stuff. Not just her stuff though, because like she's kind of but like her kind of stuff. So I know that like rapidly I'm not just like learning about myself, but I'm changing a lot as a person. So it's, I want to say like I think a 7 to 7.5 is like fair, because I feel like that leaves a door open for me to be like, there's. So, what I'm thinking about is, like, okay, for example, like, the thing I really know about myself is I know, like, I can be typically an anxious person. And, like, that, I know when that comes up and what kind of scenarios would make me really anxious. But only until recently I've really figured out how to manage that anxiety, or to, like, how to distract myself, or how I, like, is basically, like, being aware of those thought processes to be able to break it down. Like, that was only pretty recently. So that's why I'm kind of, like, I'm figuring it out.
I think that's fair. I mean, like,
fair.
There's always lessons to be learned with every day, month, year of growth, like, as cheesy as that sounds. It's so true. Like you said, when we were in university in our early 20s, we really, or like 19, 20, 21, we really thought we had it all figured out.
Yeah, and especially like, I'm thinking like when we get into like later stages of life, like we have kids and have like true independence, and I'm sure that's going to be like 9-day difference from the people right now. So for the current moment, I think I'm fine with the 7.5. So that's cool. Okay, next question. I think this is a really dope one. How do you So the question goes, how do you show up for yourself when no one else can? And then whoever mods this account, for me, it's watching Oprah interviews, thriller movies, drinking can, and scrolling Tumblr. I don't remember the last time I was on Tumblr.
Me neither.
Holy shit. That's like not even in my mind at all. It doesn't sit there.
Yeah.
This comment starts.
No. No heart.
Let me see. Okay. I
love myself to cry. That's a good one.
Whoa. Yeah, a lot of people get similar things. Journaling every day, running.
Every day,
yeah,
running.
Really,
nice.
These two are really... Yeah, I was going to say something similar. Every morning.
Every morning when my spirit comes back to my body.
I love these trolling comments, man. I allow myself to rest, always having snacks nearby, watching old videos on my phone. That's cute. The Office. Hey, Iman. And The Office.
Yes, ma'am.
Documentaries. Fiction suspense books. That's cute. Fringe reviews. Taking a long shower, making some dinner, listening to some old Duncan Trussell. I don't know who that is. Episodes while playing chess against myself. That's expert level right there. I don't know what that is. That's awesome. Okay.
Oh my God, that literally reminds me of that. I'm gonna bring up an Office reference. You know that episode where Dwight is teaching them martial arts, and then Jim is like, the only person who can, is good enough to go against Dwight is Dwight, and then he makes him like fight himself.
Yeah. He knows my every move. Yeah. It's perfect. I think I'll go first on this one because you went first.
Yeah, go.
But some of them actually kind of hit on stuff that I think of. Like, I think this question is alluding, like, if you're having a shit day, right? Like, how do you, when you don't really have somebody to FaceTime, or like, it's not one of those days. I definitely like to go outside. Yeah. Even if it's like going for a jog, it doesn't have to be anything intense. Just like going out and then bringing my headphones with me to listen to a podcast or music. Like, that's it. Like, that's it. It's going to be harder now that it's winter, so I'm super aware of that. But just getting a breath of fresh air and seeing something that isn't your room is like really great. Especially with how much screen time and shit we get, like, it's just, that's so refreshing to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And like the second thing for me would be like doing something myself, like self-care type stuff that's like doing my nails, or like I cut my own hair now because of COVID, so doing something like that, doing face care routine stuff, anything that I can put like a candle on and again like have something running on in the background that I can just like pamper myself. Perfect. Like, it gives me something to do and I feel good.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Like, again, the Office marathons are my go-to always.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely, like, I would say letting yourself relax, like letting yourself remove yourself from the situation. Like, sometimes it's hard to do that. Sometimes you're like really anxious about something, or you're really stressed about something, and that's all you can think about. But like, sometimes you have to step away, take some time to do something else, and not feel bad about taking the time to do something else.
That's huge, actually. Right?
And just take the time for yourself, and then get back to whatever needs to be done. And I also think another part of showing up for yourself is also being true to yourself, as cheesy as that sounds, like, but just being like honest with yourself, like not lying to yourself about maybe something, like, like for example, personally with me, I'm the worst procrastinator. You know this, all my friends know this. I procrastinate like nobody else. No one. Like, I am the worst person. I am that person writing my essay at 11:57 when it's due at 11:59. Like, I'm so bad. And obviously, like, as I'm sure you've heard, everybody has heard, like, there's always like these videos or like these little quotes popping up about like procrastination is just you avoiding things that cause you stress, and that kind of stuff. And so that comes with a lot of guilt too, because you're like, oh my God, why am I avoiding this? Like, let me just get it done. And then but sometimes you're avoiding it for a good reason, because you know that you are gonna stress about it. So sometimes it's okay. That's what I tell myself sometimes. It's okay to procrastinate a little. It's not okay to the extent that I do it. And that's being true to myself. It's not okay.
Right. 100%.
But sometimes it's okay to take some time for yourself and not worry about the deadline coming up, or like, or not overworking yourself. Like people working from home right now, it's so easy to get caught up in that work mindset where you're working constantly and working during times you're not getting paid to be working.
Yeah. 100%.
Because you feel bad or you feel like you need to get work done or guilty for not getting something done during the workday.
Right.
Nope. You got to be true to yourself and be like, nah, I need to take some time away from this.
No, 100%. I think what is a really good point that you touched on is really what you're talking about is like self-forgiveness, right? Like there's so many times that I feel like we make ourselves like feel really shitty or get ourselves into a bad day. Not necessarily because there's like one big problem that like has happened to us. Sometimes it's really self-inflicted. So I think like self-forgiveness is really important, especially when you don't feel productive, especially when you see other people, for example, being a lot more productive than you. I think that doesn't help. Being aware of what everybody else has going on.
And that's the thing, like everybody always looks like they're doing more than you. It's always gonna look that way.
And social media will always like that. That's when you need to step away, right? You need to like hold yourself accountable. You saw something on a story. You saw somebody post about something and they like tagged a huge company that they're working, whatever. Like you just need to, I think a lot of the time when you need to show up for yourself, it's a lot of boundary setting for yourself and going, I shouldn't be listening to this. I shouldn't be watching this. I should be doing something I know is going to get me more in a rut. So, like just putting that boundary out there for yourself. And sometimes that's like what I used to do, especially as like a teenager, when you're in a shit mood, you just listen to like really emo sad boy music. And it's like, yes, there's some days that deserve that you need to just like let it out. But I've noticed like I just need to like put on a freaking sick like party anthem type song and just put it on, and then like that works a lot better than putting on some Billie Eilish. You know what I'm saying? So I have like different playlists for that stuff now. So thanks Spotify. But the last thing that I wanted to mention, I don't know, we have time. What am I saying? That I also do to help myself. Like you mentioned, The Office marathons. I watch a lot of like improv comedy. For me is like so fun to watch. And like shout out to Ramesa because I actually recommended this to her like a few months ago. Because she was like, "What do you watch when you like really need like a very quick pick me up?" And like so there's shows like The Office, Community, stuff she's aware of. But like the old school Between Two Ferns on YouTube, I think is like, it's short. It's like 4 to 5 minutes, but it's like there's nothing funnier than Zach Galifianakis. Like he's just him roasting awkwardly other people is like, I'm here for this. And I usually rewatch the same episodes. There's one he does with Steve Carell. Brie Larson one's really funny. Like there's just go-to ones that I watch that like that's it. Or like Whose Line Is It Anyways? Like that kind of stuff. That
I love that show. It's
just you're gonna laugh, you're gonna have a good time, and then all of a sudden it takes you out of whatever you were thinking about. So I really highly recommend just having like a playlist or a set few like things make you happy. That's it. Sometimes it's just distraction at the end of the day.
But also sometimes it's not distraction.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes
some of it is like putting something in real in front of you.
And sometimes I mean like in general like sometimes being like showing up for yourself is knowing when to stop distracting yourself from whatever it is you're avoiding.
It depends what you're. It definitely depends what you're going through. I think I mentioned the distraction one just because, like, with COVID, there's just so much time to overthink. Versus I feel like real world, like, showing up for yourself is usually, like, because something shitty has happened or, like, you were doing something so long that it became a problem. I think that's real. Okay. I'm surprised we didn't mention food because that's it. You just do some Uber Eats and you're good.
Yeah, that's true.
We know this. We do this all the time.
Just order everything.
All right. Our last question. I think we'll take some thought on my end. But really interesting question. Have you changed your mind about anything recently? So I want to go through the comments on this one. I'm learning to change my ideas of someone to reduce my anxiety around the uncertainty of our future. That's cute. That's definitely relationship related right there. Changed my mind about a dream that I have been working and waiting for over 7 years to come true. It became too tiring and exhausting to follow and I had to let go of it. Yeah, that's real.
That's hard.
Real. I want to change my mind about my last relationship. Instead of asking why things happened the way they did and blaming myself, I want to say that it's their loss and they're missing out. Yeah, it's a good way of getting over something. It's been almost a year ago, but I changed my mind about someone who was supposed to be my friend. Best thing I've ever done in a very long time. That's real. Wow. This is all like very real heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Yeah, it changed my mind about letting other people's actions determine how I think and feel about myself. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. I changed how I handle my emotions. I can be all over the place and it isn't good. I also changed how I'm going to channel how I feel. Whenever I'm angry, sad, annoyed, etc., I can't say, do, or act in ways that harm myself and those around me. That's real. That's like definitely monitoring yourself. That's awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
That's really cool. A lot of big stuff people put there.
I would say a couple things have come to mind for like immediately when I heard that question. The first thing I would say, and I don't know if this makes sense, but I'll try to word it as best as I can.
Sure.
But like I've changed my mind around the idea of my age, if that makes sense. Like the idea at 25 I need to be at a specific point. Like I need to have reached a certain level of growth or whatever.
Yeah.
Or around the fact that 25 is old, which is not.
Yeah.
And around the fact that 30 is old, which is not.
Yeah. That's so funny because that's like, I wasn't thinking that, but that's so real. Because like you, especially when you're like let's say high school, you like look up to people who are their 20s and 25-year-olds. I remember there was a time that I was like, why are 20 and 25-year-olds on social media? Like, why are you on YouTube? Why are you making this is for young people? Do you know what I'm saying? But like now being in it, I don't feel that different. Sure, I have more responsibility. Sure, that like the world looks different. But the second you let go of the idea that you have to be something or a certain way or have your shit figured out together, like I'm not a bum like wasting our, like we're both very active people who are get our lives.
But for some reason we've been convinced that like we have to be successful at a certain point, and if we aren't successful at a certain age, then we're never going to be successful.
Yeah,
which is crazy to me because it's like definitely something that has been like changing, like my mind has been changing about it over the past like year or so, because it's like, especially now when you have like, because I'm in my master's right now, and a lot, like I would say majority of the people in my cohort are like 10, 15, 20 years into their career coming back to school, and then hearing like their stories, it's like, oh yeah, I started off like working in finance, and then 10 years later I decided to go to a nonprofit. I'm like, how old are you?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't, like, it doesn't make sense in my mind, but at the same time, like that's how time is. Like you can spend a long period of time in one place, and that's not where you end up forever.
Yeah, that's the same experience that I did my graduate certificate. It's the same exact thing of like people who are in senior like leadership positions that I was like, why are you like you're here at U of T doing what? Like clearly making big bucks. Like he didn't have to, but anyways, like it was. That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like what it does too when you have that mindset of I have to be a certain way and have to be at a certain phase of life at 25 is that it sometimes if you listen to it too much, it forces you to make decisions quickly, and then you end up unhappy, right? Because you haven't taken the time to think it through or actually figure out if you're happy. Which like I feel like if you have examples of it around you too, of people who like definitely felt that pressure and listened to it, that you're like, oh, I could very easily end up like that. Sure, I would have had all check boxes like filled out for what 25 should look like, but it would have definitely been miserable.
Yeah, and I think it starts like from very early on, like even from high school, because you're in high school, you're told, okay, you finish high school and then you go to university and then you have a job and then da 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 da. Like there's like this like step. So if you don't know what you want to do in high school, then you're never going to be successful.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And then a lot of times you find a lot of young people going into programs that they don't enjoy. They have no interest in, wasting money on a program they don't want to do.
Yeah. And also like caring too much about like the optics of it. Like, yes, you could be saying that you're doing this bachelor with this degree with, you know, you're projected to make this much money. Like you can tell that, and like, I get why people might succumb to the pressure, but like I realize a lot of people make those decisions based on the optics to look good, to look like, okay, you have the engineer label, congratulations. Like, but when it comes down to actually working in the field, yeah, it's like not enough for them after all that work. Which is so real. Like, it comes down to just like listening to yourself, right? And that kind of relates back to the other question of showing up for yourself. That's just like, you have to just, yes, you can see and be aware of the expectations put in front of you. And I'm sure like parental pressure doesn't make it easier for some people who aren't like as flexible. But it's your life, dude. Like, you got to do you sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot easier said than done. Let's be real.
Yeah, depending on your circumstance, and that's what I meant. Like parents, family, everything, like what surrounds you. Especially if everybody around you, if you're in a friend circle that everybody's doing the same thing. Yeah, very difficult to like jump out of the mold. What have I changed my mind about? I don't know. I feel like over the past year, what I've changed my mind about is like, I don't know how to explain this either. It's gonna take a minute. But it's like, I used to very much think like if I had something in my life that was bothering me, probably problems or whatever, that like I definitely had, this is almost very masculine, like I took it upon myself to figure it out myself, and you're very much in your head about like, no, but I know what's best for me, and I'm gonna listen to whatever I think is best. But especially with like, again, like the self-help stuff and doing a lot of stuff to like figure myself out emotionally, is like, I just need to talk to people. And I know that sounds stupid and simple, but a lot of the times we get up in our own heads thinking like, you know, I need to be there for myself and I can figure it out. Like, it's fine. I can put it on my shoulders. This is my burden to bear. But there's a reason why you have friends, and there's a reason why you could, like, if it's really bad, like, there's a reason why you can get professional help, and why there's like people around you in your life. And especially like I'm lucky to have the people I do too, from like school and from work and from like all over the place, that are more than willing to listen. It's just they can't predict that you need somebody right now. Like, you need somebody out there.
Yeah, like no one can read your mind.
No one can. Yeah, exactly. And you need to put yourself out there and say, hey, like, can we just like FaceTime for like 20 minutes? I just need this.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously, like, you know, being a good friend means like being also that person for somebody else when they need it. Like, I'm not out here like being a leech, but I think it's really important. Like, I've changed my mind about like seeking help, I guess is my point. Like, I think it's just really normal and healthy to hear yourself talk, to hear a different perspective that maybe will change completely how serious you thought the situation was, and then like you can laugh together with your friend, and then you're over it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it just makes your life easier, and also you talk to your friends more, so that's good too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's like a feeling of, I don't know what it is, like guilt or something that goes along with wanting to talk to people about something that's bothering you, because you, at least for me, it's like, oh, they already have things going on. Yeah. Like, they don't need to hear about my stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's not to say that like in the past I've like always bottled stuff. I feel like I've always been pretty vulnerable and pretty forward as a person. But in terms of like I'll in my head I'll spend that couple of weeks whatever figuring it out, and then come to a point of like talking about it, when I could have made it easier for myself when I had that initial time. You know what I'm saying? Talked about it then, and then it's not a big thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds fucking simple, but it's
well, like, yeah, but that's how everything is, right? It sounds so simple, but in reality, there's a lot of things, and you know, we can go very deep, because you know, you can talk about like how you were raised and how, you know, culture may have influenced whether you are open about speaking about certain things or not, and exactly. And that's a lot of the cases. Like, a lot of immigrant culture is like, you keep it to yourself, you don't tell anybody about anything because it's like shameful. But like, as we grow older, we like, it's I'm making it more, I'm my mind is like going deeper and deeper, and I'm like, you shouldn't make it, because we're all going to talk forever. Anyways, but basically my point is like, as like Muslim women from immigrant families, like, a lot of the time you're not told, or like it's been implied that you shouldn't it's not like always straightforward told to you, but like implied within your culture, or like you know, in certain settings or whatever, it's always like hush hush, whether you see it from like other family members or whatever, but there's this thing in your mind where it's like, okay, no, keep it to yourself. And then and now we have like, now as we grow older, we're like taking ownership of our own selves and like having autonomy and all that stuff, and it's hard to break that barrier in your mind.
I also think too, like,
I need to be vulnerable, but also, what are they gonna think of me?
Exactly. It's a lot of that too, like, and just like to like layer off this question based on time, but I think it's also like, yes, it's a cultural thing, yes, it's like historically what you've been told growing up, but it's also like a personality thing too. If you're if you're the independent type, if you play the role as the advice friend, that's my thing. I think if you're typically the one who's the console, like the one who plays therapist to somebody else, then it's really hard. You almost have to put your pride and ego aside a little bit to like then receive it, but you should just be used to that. Like I think that's really the core of what answering the question is. I really pushed myself to like, no, be the person who needs to vent. Because it's not always good. Like, I don't know everything. Like I can't assume that I know how to solve every problem that comes my way.
That's true.
So that's my answer to that. But yeah, this was fun. I
definitely.
This challenge is really cool. I'm wondering if like the card set is. Oh yeah, I think these are pictures of the cards here. But pretty cool game to play, and maybe something we can play with a larger group of people. I think this would be great with actually
definitely probably something you have to play with people who you're like really comfortable with.
Yeah.
Comfortable being vulnerable with, because this looks like something that's like you.
I mean, it's kind of in the title, right? Like, this is for somebody who's not just a stranger. But awesome. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this episode or want to see us answer more questions, actually, if you have more prompts or big, deeper questions about friendships, about like the showing up for yourself question, just drop it in the comments below, and we'll use that as a base for a next episode or something like that. Or if there, again, other challenges and stuff like this, other Reddit threads, for example, that we should be following, let us know. You can listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and we're all across all the social medias like IG, Twitter, and Facebook. Iman, do you have anything else?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, if you guys feel comfortable answering the questions we answered, let us know what your thoughts are. You could DM us or just put it in the comments wherever you're listening to this. But other than that, we will see you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Bye, guys.